was asked to do a video and my thoughts on the June 10th summer reading for Northgate in the New Testament. And the chapters that were involved with that particular reading are Matthew chapter 10, Romans chapter 10, and Hebrews chapter 10. And the verses that stood out to me, and the verses that I thought that God was using to speak to me, were Romans chapter 10, verses 9 to 13, and Matthew chapter 10, verses 39. So I'll read the verses from Romans first. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is by believing in your heart that you are made right with God, and it is by confessing with your mouth that you are saved. As the scriptures tell us, anyone who trusts in him will never be disgraced. Jew and Gentile are the same in this respect. They have the same Lord who gives generously to all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. It's kind of interesting that I had the opportunity to actually look at these verses, because these verses are probably the most impactful in the scripture in my life. So to have the ability to share about them is neat. These verses lay out how to be saved, and what I mean by saved is the Bible talks about how everyone has sinned and fallen short of God, and because of that we can't be in the presence of the Lord unless that sin is paid for. Now Jesus did the hard part. We couldn't possibly pay for our sin, but Jesus paid for it by laying down his life and being separated from God for a time, and then he rose from the dead and basically was victorious over death. But we have a decision to make. Each of us is basically sitting on the throne of our own lives, making our own choices. We're the God of our decisions. We're the God of our lives, up until a point where we ask and we believe in God and we make him Lord of our life and put him on the throne of our life. But we have to make that choice. Not everybody does. I've had many people ask me, like, what's the difference between Christianity from a biblical perspective and other religions, and the real difference is these verses. All of the religions require people to do something, to earn their way to heaven, in some, whether in part or in whole. You have to do something or sacrifice something, or it's always in all of other religions, it's about a work or a deed or a task that has to be done. You have to be good. And the problem with that is that always involves me still being on the throne of my life, me controlling my life and controlling my destiny. And the truth is that doesn't work in God's perspective. He needs to be Lord. And what he has said is that to make me Lord, you need to believe what I did, and you have to accept the payment that I made. It's not about you, it's about my grace. The scripture that I read from Matthew points out that there's something, we have a choice to make, and it has to do, and there's something after this life. There's other verses in Matthew, I won't read them, but in Matthew chapter 10 verses 28 to 32, it talks about how we have a soul, and that soul lives on after this life is done, and it's way more valuable than this body or this life. And what are we going to do? We have a choice to make. Are we going to invest with the resources that we have in this life to impact the future after we're gone? Are we going to focus all our attention and energy on getting all the joy and pleasure and satisfaction in the things that we can get in this world, which are temporary and they will disappear? I'll just end with this by saying that my parents, I grew up there was a plaque in the house that I grew up in, and it kind of had the creed that my parents, I believe, followed in their life. And we never ever spoke about that, but I remember reading it many times, and it said this. It's not a scripture. It says, only one life, It soon will be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Well, what that plaque is saying is that in this physical life, it will be gone and done. But the things that we do can have an impact on eternity. We have a choice to make. And you and I, on not just putting God in charge of our life, but also investing in eternity as well. And that's what I have to say.